much. Moving on to item number 8, amended community sponsorship policy presented by Terrell.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item was brought before you per your request. You wanted to go over the newly adopted community sponsorship policy that was adopted in, I think, March of last year. It didn't go exactly the way that Council had intended, so this is your opportunity to discuss how you would like it to go forward for this budget year. So looking forward to your conversation.
All right, thank you very much. We have any discussion?
Through the mayor.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Terrell, for taking this and the work that's there. There was a couple of pieces that were missing that I had asked for at our last meeting, and maybe I was vague. I take responsibility if I didn't convey it properly, but my concern is a one and done. As far as the applications come in, we look at it with the budget and the money's gone for the entire year. I would like to see that broken into quarterly allotments. So if we budget $40,000 for the whole year, it's $10,000 allotments for quarter. And then the second thing was, if anything above a certain dollar amount, and I would suggest $500, $800, I mean, we can negotiate that all day long, but anything above a certain amount must come back before the council for approval.
Well, currently, everything above $0 comes to you. So that was what my direction was last year. And so that's why I kind of left it out of the $800. So I did leave it vague because I knew that there was different conversations and I couldn't capture them all with what you had decided. And so I hope to do that tonight, and so we can get the document the way you want it to be.
All right, thank you. I will be more clear on that. Yeah, we do approve it. It's called a budget. And what was happening last year is we approved the allotted amount. They came in and they were gone. And so what I'm talking is not just the allotment through the budget, but I'm talking the individual donations, contributions, disbursements that we make above a certain level that's within that allotted amount needs to come back before us, whether it be consent agenda or whatnot. It needs to be looked at by the entire council, because who's to say that we want to give organization A 5,000 and give organization B 500? We should be looking at what they give back to the community and what the benefit to the community is. And we've got a lot of great partners out there, but I don't want this to be that the first people that are in get the lion's share, and we don't need to run out of money before we're halfway through our fiscal year. And that's my concern.
I think that we could still do that through the budget process. And so it's not just a one and done, but as you allocate what you know, if you see what kind of applications and needs there are, instead of having, what I would suggest, instead of having $40,000, is that you look at the general need, and you can say, okay, well, $40,000 didn't quite do it, so maybe we need $50,000. And so in that regard, then you could say, well, we'll, as you say, through the budget process, we'll do it this way, this way, this way. And I still agree, the in-kind, which I had mentioned in the staff report, is a little gray area that staff is more concerned with than council, because it affects especially the Parks and Recreation budget and Public Works. You know, how we account for that. But I do, instead of $800, you know, I still think that, you know, because that could add up to, you know, it could be 8,000 really quick. With the, I would think that anything over $0 would come to you for approval. And
I would be fine if we brought back everyone and approved it. I would have no problem with that. It's just that way we're all aware. And I just know we ran in last year because I had reached out and inquired about the possibility of us supporting some different agencies. And we spoke, you know, like, I think it was September, October, and it's like, it's all gone. It's like, how can it be gone? We're 3 months into the year. And that's what we want to avoid. So. Right. And so however you guys decide you want to do that through the budget process, I think having it just as a generic item in the budget or in the policy through the budget process, you can actually line out to staff how you want it divvied up, and then we'll follow that.
Because it just seems to me if we having a little bit of flexibility, as long as everything's coming back to you, will allow council to be able to do what they need to do throughout the year to support the community.
Through the mayor, I would like to expand on Councilman Shaw's suggestion. Coming now from a private sector background where the company that I end up working for takes multiple requests at multiple times of the year for charitable giving, I fully agree with Councilman Shaw in regards to you can't have a one and done, because throughout the year different things come up that perhaps you would like to participate in some charitable giving. So I would offer a suggestion that through the budgetary process, we have some long-standing relationships with certain events or partnerships. I think we take those through the budgetary process, but we leave enough funding so that we could implement the quarterly giving if something comes up. And that way it isn't a one and done. And I will cite certain events that again, we've had a long-standing relationship with and a partnership with going back many, many years. You know, we have partnerships with the Chamber of Commerce. We have partnerships with our Downtown Business Association. We have partnerships with the BO Military Liaison Committee. I mean, there's a host of these things that I think we can take a look at through the budget process of funding, but I also think that other things come up throughout the year as was discussed earlier, and therefore we should reserve some of that funding through the budget process to become available and, for lack of a better term, doled out throughout the rest of the year. Quarterly is how our company does it, and you know that way you can basically tell someone, hey, look, our charitable giving or community giving for the quarter's over, you're welcome to apply for the next quarter's allocation. It seems to work for us. It also allows this council to review requests and vet them out and make sure that they are aligned with the things that we want to support in our community.
Thank you.
Through the mayor.
Yes.
I like both of your ideas. I think there's areas in particular with those long-standing that we can agree on. And that could be monies that within that budget that we set aside, so it doesn't come through this process, that we already know these are our long-standing partners. And I would further even invite our partners to say, how do I tie myself into one of the priorities of the city? So there is some connectedness to that vision as a city that we're working together. And then as we do these quarterly set-asides, I think, ask for each of us as a council to have some discretionary opportunities to bring forward, a potential event or something that the city hasn't been involved before, and it might be a good opportunity for us to present. So I don't know, in that quarterly review, I'm giving a rough number, not set in stone. Let's say we had $5,000 set aside for each quarter. Each of us got $1,000. So, within that, we're supporting across the board of all of as a council. And that way, I think that would be more fair and equitable all the way through. But I would say with these larger, put those in the budget, doesn't come through this process at all. Not even set through here. That they know, we know.
That last comment, what was that? I missed that. What was not set through here?
That I'm saying that these agreements that we agree, and I'll use because they're right here, downtown.
The long-term stuff.
Right.
Okay.
That whatever we have set aside, that comes out through the budgetary and it's already set aside. But this other piece, that the quarterly aspect is a great idea, but I also say give each council member an opportunity to have the discretion to say, well, I know Manny's going to get 1,000. Shaw will get 1,000. Each of us would get 1,000 and say, look, I'm bringing forward out of this fund, and this is a group that I've been involved with and is part of this community like to support them. And you may not be familiar, and you may bring someone completely different that I may not be familiar, and allows for more equitableness and fairness across the board.
I understand what you're saying in principle and agree with it in principle, but I for one, I don't want personal discretion over one dime of the city's money, because it all come through us.
No, this is not personal. This is not, I mean,
Well, if I get $1,000 that I'm in charge of, I'm not comfortable with that.
no, that it comes out of this process, but designated amounts for each council to have. It's pretty much doing it. We kind of do that now. I mean, think about the process of this last go-round. The entire, what was it, $50,000 that we had set aside for last year, or this year, or was it 40,000?
We had 40,000.
40,000. So all of that money was already pretty much decided by perhaps yourself and Cardoza. By the time the three of us figured out that was done, it was gone. So that's what I'm saying. This allows for a lot more different voices.
Perhaps in the, and by the way, we agree. It's just the mechanism. I don't know, because if, say, for example, we went with that and I had something that someone's requesting 500, you had something, but you need 1,500, but you're only allotted 1,000. If we had discretion across the board, we're always able to bring things up on our own, right?
I think so.
If we had a big pot of money from which that we can kind of, for the optional, I think what Mark was talking about, the contingency fund, if you will, after, above and beyond the regular long-standing things, I would add fireworks to the list of long-standing things, even though it's only been a year.
And it's not on this list.
Right.
Okay.
We can add that.
It actually was on this list. It was included in it.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't see it on the report.
Oh, yeah.
Well, because it was, I mean, it was on the reconciliation.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
That was part of the 40,000.
I think if we had a chunk that the long-standing predictable things, good to go. We try to come up with some other stuff for the stuff that maybe we don't know about. Maybe somebody wants to do an initial event or something. You might be in favor, I might be in favor, we both might be in favor, rather than dividing it up 5 ways. That takes it a little bit far for me to wrap my head around, but in principle, the job's still going to get done.
I agree with you. I think that there is, just because this last year there was a process, you utilized a process, and I agreed to that process. I just would like that there's an opportunity for all of us to bring forward potential events that we can, agree in, and that's whatever that amount is, it's our discretion. If we're going to bring every single one to the council, it's going to take 3 of us or more to vote anyhow. So, I mean, I'm in favor of that. But again, I'm in favor of removing some of this as part of that list and putting it into the budget and deciding that that's going to be something that we 5 agree. I would like a 5 agreement on that. Thank you.
All right. Nothing? I'm good. All right. Have we given you sufficient guidance to move forward, Terrell?
So I have everything over $0 comes to council regarding sponsorships. We're going to be having through the budget process, kind of a one and done for the long-term projects. And then there'll be a discretionary fund separate that will be allocated quarterly by council.
That makes sense to me. Are you good? All right. All right. I see we have to take a motion on that. Uh-oh, wait a minute. I can feel it over here.
Out to the public?
Oh, public comment. Any public comment? Yes, sir. Come on up. Thank you for that. Usually, I've been good at remembering that lately. Yeah.
Good evening, Thomas Burns. Well, when I came here, I was nice and calm and cool, but this little issue really chaps my hide, okay? So I remember in history, and I think it was Daniel Boone, and he became a public servant. And there's a little story that goes about where there was some woman that had a need, and he used the taxpayers' money to help that need. And a guy called him on it and said, I can't vote for you in the next election because it's not your money to give. And that's the bottom line for me. This is the people's money, and charitable contributions from government is how we're in this stinking mess that we're in California already. So that's my thoughts on the matter. It's not your money to give, whether, to pet projects or things that you like. It's the city money is to take care of the basic needs of the city. That's what I believe.
Thank you, Tom. Did you want to?
Yeah. Mr. Burns, thanks for speaking. I'll kind of help clarify a little bit for you, because I think the term charitable giving, when we use it the way it is, kind of gets loosely interchanged. When I think of that fund that's to be used, it is for stuff that is for the benefit of the community at large, such as the fireworks show we did, such as the sponsorship and kind of stuff with the DBA for the Christmas stroll, for the summer stroll, partnering up with nonprofits to benefit the community, like the Kiwanis, like the Rotary clubs, which invest a lot of money into our community to put back, take for example, the pickleball courts that got redone last year. I'm not a big pickleball fan. I played, but that's not my cup of tea. But at the same time, no, and they know that. We lost miserably. 2 games, we were done. But they came along and they spent a lot of money from their organization combined with many others to do that for a public benefit. So when we say this particular amount of money going, it needs to be going to help benefit the general public and our community for our quality of life and things coming. It's not meant to give to, charity AB nonprofit for whatever. It is for the general benefit of this community and our quality of life. Does that help clarify? I appreciate the clarification. Okay.
Through the mayor, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Because I want to follow up. I used the word charitable, and I used it in response to the fact that that's how our private company, I didn't mean that the city would be involved in charitable contributions, and Councilman Shaw, I think, expressed the community, the quality of life types of events that we try to participate in for the greater good of all these citizens, not a special interest group.
All right. Anybody else from public care to comment? Glad we got that. Thank you for asking the question, because I would hate for you to leave thinking something was different than what it is. So, okay. Now we can move forward if anybody's interested. We need to vote on it, I think.
Hold on for a second.
Adopt a resolution?
We don't have anything to approve yet.
As long as the city council has given consensus as to what.
All right, so we're good. We don't need to vote on that. We have a consensus. And she's clear, so we're good. We'll come back and vote on that.